What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports back to you guys with another video, and I'm here with my Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Week 2, 2019 NFL preseason preview. Going to be previewing this matchup, the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Upload NFL videos and NFL content daily. So Jacksonville Jaguars, they're coming off of a blowout loss versus the Baltimore Ravens, and the Philadelphia Eagles are coming off of a not so impressive loss versus the Tennessee Titans as well. So both of these teams really struggled in their preseason matchups last week, and some things to watch. The Jaguars' offensive line. I mean, their offensive line looked like they couldn't really block anybody, and I don't know how many starters they had starting that game, but I mean, we need to see a little bit more out of that offensive line, and I mean, it did not look good. Baltimore's defense was just really doing whatever they wanted to do, and I mean, Gardner Minshew, man, this guy's helmet got knocked off twice, man. I mean, literally, I'm not joking. Like his helmet got literally knocked off twice because of him getting hit stick by the Baltimore Ravens defense. So I mean, I think that's something that they need to clean up. That offensive line needs to do a lot better. It doesn't matter if they're backups, third stringers, or whoever. They need to do a lot better. These are professional football players. They're trying to make the roster, so they need to play like there are some professional football players because that it was no reason why Gardner Minshew's helmet should have got knocked off twice. And I mean twice. And I mean Gardner Minshew, man, this dude really couldn't really get anything going because he couldn't even get no solid protection. So I think that's something I'm going to be watching in this matchup. Then the wide receivers. The wide receivers didn't really impress me that much, especially DJ Chark. He really disappointed me. This dude dropped two passes, I believe. He dropped the wide open slant pass, even though some people thought it was pass interference. It hit his hands. He dropped it, man. So I was really disappointed out of what I saw out of DJ Chark. I expected him to have a little bit more of an impact. He didn't really do nothing last week versus the Baltimore Ravens. Then I'm looking at their halfbacks. Now their halfbacks on the other side were really impressive. Both of them. Alfred Blue just came out of nowhere, man. Alfred Blue really surprised me with how he played last week. I mean, that dude came out like he had something to prove, man. I was really impressed out of what I saw out of Alfred Blue, man. He was really impressive. Then you had Raquel Armstead, the rookie out of Temple. He was very impressive as well. He had some good runs. So some positives is the halfback position, which really shouldn't be that much of a surprise because that's what Jacksonville plans on doing. Most of the season is running the football a lot more, and that's how they plan on winning games there. Then we got to look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Big thing is who's going to end up being that backup quarterback. Their backup quarterback got injured against the Tennessee Titans. So he probably won't be coming back to play in the preseason. So he got Cody Kessler versus Clayton Thorson. Both of those guys didn't really impress me a lot. I was very surprised by Cody Kessler's performance. I thought he would have played a lot better, considering the fact that he has had some NFL experience and he's kind of been in the league for a couple of years now. And Clayton Thorson, we already know that Clayton Thorson is basically a developmental project. He's not really a quarterback who he really looked like he didn't really know what he was doing. He was kind of looking like a deer in headlights there. He was looking like Drew Lock in the Hall of Fame game. So Clayton Thorson is a guy who's going to have to basically be a developmental project. He'll probably be a practice squad guy. So I'm going to be eager to see what these guys do against this Jacksonville Jaguars defense. For the most part, played really solid against this Baltimore Ravens offense last week. Then I'm looking at their halfbacks. They have a lot of talented halfbacks on the roster, and I'm still eager to see who's going to be that guy who ends up pulling away and ends up making a roster with a couple of guys that they had in. So, some players to watch for Jacksonville Jaguars. I want to keep my eye on Gardner Minshew again. His performance last week against the Baltimore Ravens wasn't really all that impressive, but I mean, he didn't really have that much time to drop back and throw. So we got to give him some slack there. And his helmet got knocked off twice, but he had a couple of plays I was really impressed. And he also showed a little bit of his mobility as well. So Gardner Minshew, I think his play should pick up when the offensive line play ends up picking up and his receivers get a little bit better when it comes to catching passes and things like that. At the halfback position, like I said earlier, Raquel Armstead and Alfred Blue were both probably the players of the game for the Jacksonville Jaguars side of the ball. They were very impressive. I like what I saw out of both of them. Then you look at the wide receiver position. Trey McBride was pretty much their best receiver. And DJ Chark is a player that I'm looking forward to watching because he really disappointed me against the Baltimore Ravens. So I want to see what he does against this Philadelphia Eagles team. And I was really, really disappointed by DJ Chark's performance in that preseason game versus the Baltimore Ravens. Then on the defense side of the ball, Tay Hayes was really good. But their player of the game was safety CJ Reeves, man. I mean, this guy was all around the field. He had a couple of big tackles. And this dude was all around the field, man. So I think he can end up be competing for some early playing or some playing time this season for the Jacksonville Jaguars team, man. He was really impressive. He was a dude who stuck out to me the most on the Jacksonville Jaguars defense during that matchup versus the Ravens. Now some players to watch for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I had one of their tight ends on here, but he ended up suffering an injury, so he won't be playing for the rest of the preseason. So quarterback position, Cody Kessler versus Clayton Thorson. Like I said, both those guys were pretty much underwhelming, especially Clayton Thorson, man. Clayton Thorson looked like he didn't really know what he was doing, looking like a deer in headlights out there. And I mean, Cody Kessler, he was 3 of 6, only had 12 passing yards. So I mean, it wasn't awful, but I mean, I was expecting a little bit more out of a guy who has been in the league for a couple of seasons now. And Clayton Thorson was 2 of 9 for 7 passing yards, man. So I mean, it really wasn't that pretty. So I still need to see a lot more out of both of those guys. I think Cody Kessler should probably improve. His play should probably pick up in this game simply for his experience and things like that. And Sudfeld going down is going to be a big loss because he was having a very good game. He was 10 of 18, 177 passing yards, 1 touchdown. So I think Cody Kessler should be able to pick up his production in these next couple of preseason games. I don't really know that much about Clayton Thorson, but we can only suppose that he should get better as he gets more acclimated to the NFL game. Then we're looking at halfbacks. Wendell Smallwood, Donnell Pumphrey, and Josh Adams. Now, Wendell Smallwood is a guy, he had 4 carries, 11 rushing yards, 2.8 yards per carry. So he didn't really do that much. He also called a couple of passes for 8 yards, but he's a guy who his play should continue to increase because Wendell Smallwood has been in the NFL for a couple of seasons. Donnell Pumphrey, this is a guy who I was expecting a lot of when he got signed on to his Philadelphia Eagles team. He didn't really do that much either. He had 3 carries for 11 yards, but the positive thing is he had 3.7 yards per carry. So he was pretty productive in that department. And Josh Adams, he didn't really get that many carries. He only got 3 carries, had 3 yards, but he had a touchdown. He was the only halfback out of the halfbacks I have listed here on this video that actually scored. Then you have Miles Sanders who scored as well. Cody Kessler had a rushing touchdown as well. So I mean, I'm eager to see what Josh Adams does. Josh Adams out of Notre Dame from last season had a couple of moments in the playoffs last season for the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's a guy out of these 3 backs who I think has a good chance of ending up making the roster. Then I'm looking at the defensive end position. Deshaun Hall, Sharif Miller, they both had pretty solid performances there at those defensive end spots. And it just looks like the Philadelphia Eagles are just gonna keep on stacking up on defensive linemen, man. They just find ways to add more depth to the defensive line, and these two guys are a perfect example of that in Deshaun Hall and Sharif Miller. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles, by the end of this preseason, they're going to end up having the best defensive line in all of football, or they're going to be competing for the Dallas Cowboys for that title because I saw a lot of guys on that Philadelphia defensive line that really got after it against this Tennessee Titans team. So I'm really interested in seeing how these guys perform during the preseason and how consistent can they be because the NFL preseason for guys who are trying to make the roster, it's all about consistency. You want guys who are able to be consistent and can have some solid production if one of the starters gets hurt or something like that. So that's really what the NFL preseason is about when it comes to playing on the field and things like that. How consistent can you be week in and week out for the next 4 weeks and able to make the roster? Because that's what it's about, being a backup, being able to have some production come off the bench if somebody gets injured. Then the last guy I was watching was cornerback Josh Hawkins. He was pretty good as well. So this is it for my Philadelphia Eagles versus Jacksonville Jaguars 2019 NFL Week 2 preseason preview. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Let me know some guys who you guys are going to be watching, some things to watch that you guys are also going to be watching for. And thanks for watching.